we're rolling. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of He Said.
She Said.
That's right. I'm Elliot Ashby.
And I'm Lyric Wills, gal.
And we're going to be talking about Dwayne Wade because there's like a big reaction to his support of his son Zion, who's 11 years old. 2 weeks ago, he did the fashion. They did a fashion event, and so he was walking the catwalk.
He walked.
And you said he was
it was like Legends Ball.
Can you describe it for us?
It was so much confidence. And you saw this person who just got on the runway and just was like, you could tell he was on YouTube studying. He watched Paris is Burning. He's part of a house, and he just got up there and he was like himself in his fullness. And he was probably, for all intents and purposes of the conversation, probably more feminine than what people expected, because we don't really see too much of Dwayne Wade's sons in the spotlight. And so like our first glimpse into Dwayne Wade's personal life with his sons is his young 11-year-old son Zaire on the runway, sashaying, being fabulous.
Zion.
Sorry. Being young and fabulous and sashaying down the runway. And it like kind of roused the attention of a lot of people.
People was like, yo, what is going on?
Right.
You know, and of course, you know, Dave Chappelle would call it very gay. But yeah, it seemed very gay. So people were like, hey, what's going on? And then the next thing that happens is
Miami Pride.
He's at Miami Pride. And so, you know, Gabrielle Union was there supporting, and Dwayne Wade wasn't there because he had a game, but he was like, yo, pride for my son, happy to see him out there doing his thing, something along those lines. And so people were like, yo, what's going on with his son? He's like, and some men, because of the way we've been socialized, like, you don't let your son
do this,
right? Yo, your son got a part. Like, what are you doing? And so it really just depends on people's like values, because there are people, and this like America is so funny because people become very like Christian and very moral when it comes to issues like sexuality. When it comes to gay, when it comes on some gay stuff, people are very much like, well, the Bible says. I'm like, but you don't quote the Bible about anything else.
You didn't quote the Bible when you was cheating on your husband. You didn't quote the Bible when you was cheating on your wife. You didn't quote the Bible when you was talking about so.
Or
and
like, a
sin is a sin. You can't
like
divide the word.
Sex. Like,
right?
People are not really like. So it's funny when people decide when they want to, you know, use things that are scriptural and spiritual, whether you agree with it or not. I think for someone to have their child's back and to be there in support, when far too often what we see is the opposite. I remember watching the movie Pariah, where like once the mom finds out, she's beating the daughter and like kicking her out of the house. And that's a reality for a lot of people.
Right.
That if they're choosing to be what they feel is themselves, that means they now need to choose another family, another set of friends, another place to live. And that's so crazy. Even in the show Boondocks, which I love, and I love Regina King. She's a beast. And Aaron McGruder. That show was like so before its time. And there's talk that it's coming back.
We got all these comebacks, but like, and we keep hearing that there's comebacks of Boondocks, but I really want this show to come back. Right.
There was an episode Gangstalicious Part 1, and there's an episode Gangstalicious Part 2, and he's like, yeah, we just looking good for ourselves. You know, we got the pearls.
Was that the episode with the booty guy?
No, that's a different episode.
I like you, and I want to.
Because you know that's based on a real story, right?
Yeah,
it's based on a
real guy in jail, yeah.
But this rapper came out with this new fashion line, and it was very effeminate. So he had like a skirt, and in the back it had like a little cutout. He was like, just in case you got to put the drop on, you know what I mean? You don't know, you never know. You're in the streets, you got to move. And he had a song called Homies Over Hoes, and he was like, yo, we do it for ourselves. Like, we like to look good for ourselves, facials, get our nails done, but we do it for ourselves.
How many times have you watched
this
episode?
And the show was about, and most episodes, I think, the one doing the voice, but it was the whole idea was like, yo, we just like to look good for ourselves. And in the video, they're like pushing girls away as they're like bumping chests with each other. But no one was like, oh, this is regular. Yeah. And then and Cat Williams' character comes in, who's like the pimp or whatever, and he was like, homies over hoes? That sounds like some gay shit to me. He's like, I don't put nothing over. He said, I don't put nothing over. He goes, I'll put a sandwich over a hoe. I'll put anything. He said, but homies. He said, not unless that homie want to go and walk the stroll and get me some money. And I was like, yo. But the whole point was, so in the episode, what happens is the granddad's getting worried because his grandson wants to go shopping and is kind of doing stuff with his nails and like wearing this outfit that looks like he's wearing a dress. And so he's starting to get very worried. He said, like, what if he's gay? He said, what are you going to do? Stop loving him? And he goes, well, yeah, I guess. And I was like, yo. And in the episode, it's funny, but then you think about the reality for so many people that
they feel that
for
way.
them choosing to live what they feel like is their authentic truth, it now means they're at odds with their family.
Right. I think, but I like what you're saying, and I think it goes back into, you were like, yeah, I'm going to stop loving him, or how you were like, sometimes people feel like they could beat the gay out of someone. I'm like, do you try to beat someone, beat them out of being who they are? Like, first of all, gayness is not a choice. And even if you do think that being gay is a choice, then respect someone's choice. Like, I choose not to show my body, or I choose not to do these things. Like, you're not going to insult me for the choices I make, or maybe you will. But, like, the reality of it is, like, we need to start meeting people where they are and respecting people's personal choices, so long as it's not a detriment to society, it's not causing harm, or it's encroaching on someone's personal space, or all of those things. And it's like, it's so interesting because this is the polar opposite of what we saw with Kevin Hart when he made that joke about if he found out his son was gay, and how he would he said literally, I would take something and crack him over the head with it. And I just remember being so mortified.
And it
was a joke. And I'm like,
that is a punchline that now we're supposed to feel away when you're talking about, beating your children not even because of something they did.
Because of who they are.
Just because of who they are.
And it's like,
them living their own truth.
And how's that separate? But even still, like, forget that. How does that, like, when you talk about hate crimes, how's that it's not any separate than, like, when, I have a nephew that is, like, probably for a very long time. I think he's in high school now, so he's not, his high school's a little more diverse. But, like, I had fears about my nephew being in elementary school, middle school, and he was, like, one of the only black kids. And I'm just like, what if someone hits him or attacks him for being black? Like, it's no different. Like, you feel like you have authority, you have a moral authority and consent to, like, beat the likeness out of someone. Like, this is who they are.
Yeah. And that's the problem. That's why we can't joke about this stuff, because it actually, like, people are living those lives. Like, Dave Chappelle said the same thing as it related to trans people, and he was like, yo, I've made statements and people felt a way about it, but I never thought that this wasn't real for them. He's like, if somebody cut their junk off and go through all these changes and spend this amount of money, then I feel like
they're committed.
They seem pretty serious. So who are you to say that someone, and you don't walk a day in that person's shoes and know the life that they're actually living? So far be it from me. And so even for me, like, as a straight black man, there's certain conversations that I don't feel like I have an opinion on, because I'm like, that's not my lived experience. So, like, what do I have to add? And I feel like these conversations oftentimes end up getting dominated by, like, straight black men who have all these thoughts about, I'm like, I don't know about it. I have no experience. I don't know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so why would I have an opinion that's so, like, well, I'll tell you, like, how would I know if somebody's born gay or when they become, I don't know. Like, that's not my lived experience. Like, I could watch a show, I could read a book, I could talk to some people, but that's not my lived experience. So what I find is that the loudest voices at the table tend to be people that have not experienced it.
A month ago, we talked about the Jussie Smollett, and I kind of revealed that, like, that whole situation of whether he lied or not, and how, like, people believing the stories of, like, gay people it's always been detrimental. And I kind of revealed, like, yo, my mom is bi, and, like, I grew up in a household where, like, her girlfriend beat the crap out of her, and I watched that. I literally watched someone try to kill my mother in front of me, and it was her girlfriend. But beyond that, beyond the abuse, even if I grew up in the most happy blended household for a child to grow up in, like, my childhood was definitely not, it was abnormal just having a bisexual mother. I didn't have play dates. Mm-hmm. How do I invite somebody over to my house and explain that, like, you got a mommy and daddy, and I got a mom and a dad and my mom's girlfriend, and my dad comes over, and, like, it was weird. So acceptance, like, I think sometimes, so acceptance is so nuanced. It's, like, not only for the people, like, I don't want to take away from Zion, like, it's beautiful, but also for, like, Dwayne Wade being a black man. Like, people, like, so often when a child is, like, expressing themselves as gay or, like, any type of alternative lifestyle, we look at the parents like, what did you do wrong? I'm looking at Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union like, yo, write down a bullet point list of everything you did right, because your child felt comfortable coming out to you and celebrating this with you, and you created an environment and you facilitated an environment where a child felt safe. And more than anything, that is your first obligation as a parent, is to make your child feel safe, loved, and protected. And he did exactly that. He was at Pride Parade, and he felt like he could say, first of all, because before you get to Pride Parade, you got to ask permission. He only felt that comfortable because they created a loving household and environment for them. So they need to be commended for that. More than anything, like, and I saw the reactions, like mixed reviews, and I'm like, I kind of hate when anything about sexual identity is spoken about in such a negative light. Like, I get like all the risks and everything but the reason, like, I feel like the only way to normalize these kinds of conversations and this lifestyle is by highlighting and celebrating like the positive things. Let's talk about like the difference between the way Dwayne Wade is handling his actual gay son and Kevin Hart hypothetically talking about like if he came home and he found out his son is gay. Sorry, homosexuality doesn't fucking work like that.
And the problem is it just becomes repressed. Like, you just end up beating something down, and then people later have to go through counseling or deal with whatever because how they were meant to. They can't show every part of themselves.
Right.
And so I think that's why Jay-Z, I mean, you probably grew up similar to Jay-Z because Jay-Z's mom
was gay.
Gay.
Smile was my favorite song off it. Like, literally, I'm not even kidding you. I cried when I heard that song. Living in the World, like, hearing all of that, literally my childhood was like that. I look exactly like my mom. I don't get half the attention that my mom did.
Your mom fine.
Thank you. I don't get half the attention that my mom did growing up. Oh, but I remember being chased. I've had things thrown at me when I was like being out in public. I remember leaving a WNBA game and like this guy trying to talk to my mom, and then my mom's girlfriend walks up and was like, "Fuck you, bitch." All these derogatory slurs. Yeah. So I was 8 years old. Like, seeing all that and then having, like, watching my mom grapple with, like, am I a good mother? Because I'm forcing my child into this situation where, like, I want to be happy and loving this person makes me happy, but it's creating a difficult childhood for my mom, for my child or whatever. So, like, I immediately identified with Smile when I heard it because, like, that was my childhood. And I felt even as a child, I felt bad because I'm like, yo, I want nothing more to have play dates, but, like, also, like, because of what I experienced, like, just in public, how people reacted to, like, our family dynamic, I wasn't ready to go to school because in my head, like, I'm like, if any of my classmates found out about, like, what my home situation was like, I'm like, will I get kicked out of school? Will I get bullied? Like, is it safe for me? Are people going to think that I'm gay because my mom's gay? And that was a lot of it, too. Like, a lot of the times, like, people were like, oh, Lyric's gay. I'm like, why? Because, like, I've seen more shit at an earlier age than y'all, and I'm like, I'm actually, like, okay in the head. Like, I never had a moment where I was like, I wish my mom wasn't gay. Like, my childhood was lit because my mom was gay. Are you kidding me? Like, I know Chelsea, I know Westville, I know all of that. Like, I know what the old New York was.
She's been to Gay Street.
I've been to Gay Street.
Literally.
I know what the old New York was. Like, the old New York when people were talking about, like, oh, West Village was this and Chelsea was that. Like, I've been there. I lived it. And Zion being able to experience it in a way more progressive and healthy way is such a positive thing. Mm-hmm. It's such a positive thing, and it's something that should be rejoiced and celebrated. Like, we can figure out all the ways and reasons why this could go wrong. Yeah. Should he have been at Pride? That you've asked me that too, and I said that's assuming that, like, whatever he sees at Pride, like, he has no access to it. It's just like, ain't he got Wi-Fi? Don't he got television?
The central message is celebrate your kids.
Celebrate
your kids. Don't make them feel like they are a problem.
Right.
People have different belief systems that shape how they think about morals, but, like, there shouldn't be a holy book that tells you to treat people terribly. Like,
and I don't even think there's a holy book. Like,
I don't think there's a line where Jesus is like, hey,
the homos gotta go.
Treat them really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, like, disassociate yourself from their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Let them know that they're no longer your child. Like, it says that nowhere. Like, the Bible is basically about moving and acting in love and being somebody's neighbor. And so I think that when we start setting all these borders and stuff like that, there's nothing about that that's godly.
Guys, thank you so much for watching and joining us on this episode of He Said, She Said. And if you are homophobic, please unsubscribe because we don't want you to follow us. I'm sorry.
No, I do want people
who
are...
Nope.
Because I think people are working through, like, being homophobic because I feel like it's in the water. I feel like
if you're working through being homophobic,
I'm probably homophobic because on some level, like, the stuff is in the water. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But what are you drinking?
The American water. There's certain things that we pick up. There's even anti-blackness, that way we feel about ourselves based on, like, the society we live in. So the reality is we all got stuff to work on. But thank you for being here and working on it with us. Peace.
Yes.